What's going on, everybody? Boris here at the Ecology Design Studio, bringing you episode 5 of this Learn Along series, where we try to learn Java together. 2 episodes back, we created a program that would collect 10 fuel prices from a user and display the total and average values. To achieve this, we used counter-controlled repetition. Today we're going to use a Sentinel value to enable the user to enter as many values as they'd like until they enter a special key that will terminate the program. Sentinel value. Something about that sounds really cool to me. Alright, let's begin. I hope you kept that file. If not to worry. I'll be showing the old code later on in this video, or you can review episode 2. So everything is the same in this file, fuelpricetest.java. Nothing changes. We have an error here because I've deleted some of the code in fuel price. As we'll see here in a minute, everything in the beginning is the same up until a certain point. We're still doing our package declaration. We're importing scanner so we can receive user input, declaring our class fuel price as public. Public string name, course name. Here's our constructor where our main class reaches out and grabs it for the owner name. Our set and get methods. Our display message. Fuel cost record 4% string placeholder exclamation mark, which is going to input this, our Ecology Design Studio, and then it's going to add an exclamation mark at the end. And now we're ready to begin altering our program. We're going to determine the cost average. I don't know what I was thinking. The cost average based on 10 purchases entered by the user. So we're going to do a public void determine cost average, just like last time. Our opening and closing brackets. Let's create our scanner class, or scanner input. Scanner input equals new scanner System.in. And now we're going to declare our variables. If you remember, in the last time we did this program, we used integer variables. We had not yet encountered doubles and floating point decimals. Now we want to give the user some leeway, and we want the program to be more precise, because we don't purchase fuel or anything else in discrete dollar amounts. We purchase them in dollars and cents. So we want the program to mimic reality as closely as it can. So we're going to do double total sum of costs, double price counter, number of the price entered next. If you recall, the price counter is what keeps track of how many prices have been entered, and when we use counter-controlled repetition, and we entered less than or equal to 10. And then our next variable is going to be, actually this is going to be an integer variable because it can only be in discrete whole numbers. And then we're going to do double price versus integer price. That's our price variable entered by the user. Double average. We want the average calculation to display the precision in the price, and the total needs to display that precision as well. Cost average. Okay, so we've initialized our variables, or we declared our variables, and we need to do our initialization phase, or initiation phase. Total equals 0. Price counter, we're setting equal to 1. Okay, and then we need to process this. System.out.print enter price, and here's where it gets interesting, or -1 to quit. You can make this number whatever you'd like to. I've made it -1, but just replace -1 in this program with a variable or a number of your choice, preferably a negative value. We'll see why here in a second. This is our Sentinel variable or a Sentinel value that will terminate the program upon entry. And it also allows the user to enter as many values as they want until they enter that specific value. So we're going to do price equals input dot next, and we need to be careful not to do int because we need to do next double since we've declared price as a double variable. We do this, and then we need to loop until the Sentinel value is entered by the user. So the program needs to continue for as long as the user is entering legitimate values, and then when they enter -1, that's when the program terminates. And for this, we're going to use a while loop. While price, for our logical operators, this is equals, and this is not equals. So we need to have price not equal to -1, and then our opening and closing brackets. So this reads, while the price does not equal -1, do this, and we wanted to do total equals total plus price as the price to the total. Then price counter, we need to increment it +1. We're incrementing our counter, and then we need to prompt for input and read the next price from the user. So we need to continue the program after the first one's entered. And we're using these comments to designate what each line does. And then we'll go over the program in general at the end. So this is going to be System.out.print. And we're using print here because we want the cursor to be on the same line. If we did print ln, it would put the line, on the next line, and we don't want that. So let's get back here, erase this. Print, what do we want to print? Let's say enter price or -1 to quit. The exact same thing. Okay, and then price equals input dot next double. As you might have noticed, we've done this twice. We did it up here in the processing phase, and then we're doing it here while the while loop holds true. And then we've already ended our while loop. Let's delete this line. Let's go to the line. End while. So we've ended our while loop. And then we need to have our termination phase. So we don't quite want to end the other class yet. Okay, and let's do termination phase. If the user entered at least one price. And we're going to do an if statement. So if price counter is equal or does not equal 0, opening and closing brackets, we're going to calculate average of all grades. And we do this by average equals double total divided by price counter. And then display total and average with 2-digit precision because we're using double variables. System.out.print. Let's scroll a little bit so we can see a little better. System.out.print F for formatting. We're going to do /n total of the %d for numerical placeholder. Prices entered is %d \n comma, price counter. Let's not go on a new line. Let's press enter. Price counter, comma, total. System.out, printf, price average is, and here we get our formatting. We're doing percent, period, and then 2f. That's for floating point, and we're designating this as 2 decimals. So we're going to have an output of a number with 2 decimals at the end, and that's the level of precision that we want. Comma, average. We've ended our if, and we've ended this bracket ends our class, I believe. Yes, determine cost average. So let's end cost average. And then we've ended class fuel price. I believe that's everything we need to run this program. Let's take a look at what we have. Lines 1, no errors, fuel price, no errors, may split decoration into a decoration and assignment. Okay, let's go back here. Let's take a look at what we did. We increased the precision of our variables from integers to double, with the exception of price counter, because that's a discrete whole number. It's either 1 or 2 or 0 and so on. Initiated total to 0 and price counter to 1. We're printing out through the user. We're creating a prompt, enter the price or -1 to quit, with -1 being our Sentinel variable or Sentinel value. And the way we designate it is with a while loop. While this statement holds true, then do this. And what I mean is, while the price does not equal 1, then calculate the total, increment the price counter, or add the price to the total, and then keep incrementing the price counter. And keep prompting the user for more prices. So every time they enter a price that's not -1, ask them again for a new price. And we make sure the input.next double instead of next integer. We're terminating here if the price counter does not equal 0. Calculate average, display, System.out.printf total, price is entered, everything looks okay. Let's run it and see what it looks like. Perfect, no errors, it's running fine. Fuel cost record for Arcology Design Studio with the exclamation mark, enter price or -1 to quit. So let's do a price. Let's do $100.54. It should let us enter in a double variable, and it does. Let's do 45.40, 90, or 49, 67.30. That should be sufficient. And then let's test out our Sentinel, -1. There is an error. Let's find out what their error is and why it's doing this. Folks, this was a fantastic learning experience just now of how things can go terribly wrong. I feel kind of silly because it took me about 6 times to figure out what was going on. And if you remember in the first episode, we mentioned that %d is an integer placeholder. That means that it cannot hold a decimal point, and that's why we use the %.2f here, where we specify the precision with 2 decimals. And the reason why our program failed when we typed in -1 is because it could not display this. This was the culprit of our program. This is what was bringing us down. Surround with, this hint really doesn't tell us anything. But the message, when we run the program, the error message, let's say we type in -1 without typing anything, it should give us the error. Yes, it gives us the error. Exception in thread main java.util.illegal format conversion exception. D does not equal java.lang.double. What this basically means is that we have an illegal format conversion. D does not equal the Java language for double. It's looking for a double and it's getting an integer placeholder. So to correct this, It doesn't really tell us the line where this is going on. Actually, Java.2 format specifier. Let's see if it does. Determine cost average 63. Yes, it tells us the exact line 63. Okay, so we go to line 63 and we see this here. Let's change it to, well, that's pretty neat. Let's change it to .2f. We'll keep this here because this is just the total of all prices. Remember, this is our counter, the price counter, and that's still an integer value. So let's go ahead and try to run this. And when we type in -1 now, build time successful, 4 seconds. Total of the one prices entered is 0. Okay, so let's run this program one more time. Type in something like 56.5, 43.4, and then -1. Perfect. The total of the 3 prices entered is 99.90. Price average is $33.30. Again, we can add in a $sign somewhere here. The total of the number of prices is. We can put in a $sign here to make it more useful for the user, to give them more information and make it more user friendly. Let's take a look at what's different between these two programs. This is the new code that we just wrote, and this is the old code that we wrote last time in episode 2. So last time everything is the same up until a certain point. We still declared our class determine cost average. We initiated our scanner input and our variables, but here we're initializing them as integers and we're losing some precision, whereas here we're doing it as doubles, which we have to watch out for in the format specifiers down towards the end. Here the initiation phases are the same. We're still setting total to 0 and price counter equals to 1, but the processing phase of the while loop, that's when things are different. Here we don't have a Sentinel value. We're restricting the user to only 10 prices and they cannot quit at a time of their choosing. So while the price counter is less than or equal to 10, the program will continue to running regardless of whether the user wants to quit or not. They have to enter 10 prices. I guess they don't have to, they can just walk away. But that's not very useful. System.out.print enter price. There's no Sentinel value, so we don't prompt the user to enter -1 or a special character to quit the program. Price, the total, the price counter, still the same. The termination phase, the average here, there's a little difference. See here it says total divided by 10 for the number of loops. Here we don't know how many variables the user will enter. We have no idea whether they'll enter 10 or 3 or 4, however many they enter. So we need to ensure that, first of all, the total is double, and second of all, that we're using the price counter to divide for the total, to divide the total by. So the price counter is incremented each time the user enters a price. And we're dividing it by this because the formula for average is the sum divided by the number of variables, or the sum of the variables divided by the number of variables. So the price counter is a convenient check on how many variables have been entered. Here, System.out.printf, we're using basic %d for integer placeholders. The only thing that might throw this program off, I noticed when we ran it, is that it included the -1 as a variable. Say for example I entered 2 variables and then I entered -1. It will still divide the average by 3 variables and not the 2 that I entered. So to increase the precision, we could say divide price counter -1, and we can put this in parentheses and do parentheses price counter -1 to ensure that we always omit that last instance of where we entered the Sentinel variable, so that's not confused with an actual price. Alright folks, this concludes this tutorial. I hope this has been a learning experience. This has been for me. Like I said, it took me a few seconds to figure this out, and I was kind of worried I wasn't going to figure it out, and then I saw, line 63 and everything. If you have any questions or comments, or if you'd like to see a specific program covered in this series, please let me know. As always, I'll see you next time on an Ecology Designs production. What's going on, everybody? Boris here at the Ecology Design Studio, and today I'm bringing you 20 free software pieces that you don't want to miss. What's going on, everybody? Boris here at the Ecology Design Studio. Today I'm bringing you a quick tutorial on how to best structure your resume.